Hi, I'm Swaathi, and today I'm going to be presenting a work on examining consumer reviews to understand security and privacy issues in the market of smart home devices. This work was done along with my colleague and supervisors at the Delft University of Technology in the Netherlands. Now, as we all know, as we just heard, IoT devices lack sufficient security and privacy. There has been consensus among the research community that the root cause of the lack of security and privacy can be pointed to a lack of incentives for the manufacturers. Given the high costs involved in focusing on security and privacy, there is often insufficient incentives for manufacturers. However, if consumers demand for better security and privacy, that would in turn incentivize the manufacturers. And recent research shows that consumers not only care, but are willing to pay more for better security and privacy. But the problem still remains that oftentimes at the point of purchase, there's insufficient information available to consumers to make an informed decision about the purchase of an IoT device. Now, we just heard a talk on security labels. So initiatives like security labels aim to introduce a new avenue where information on the security and privacy of an IoT device can be presented to consumers at the point of purchase. In our work, however, we looked at an existing avenue where such signals might already exist, consumer reviews. So most of us probably at least skim through customer reviews of a device before making an online purchase. If we can identify the security and privacy related references in such reviews, and we can not only understand what concerns users have regarding security and privacy, these concerns are raised unprompted by the users in the reviews. We can also see to what extent the reviews serve as market signals for security and privacy to not only prospective buyers, but also manufacturers, indicating that consumers care about security and privacy. And finally, we can also see the areas of action for consumers to make more informed purchase decisions with regard to IoT devices. Prior studies in this area looked for references to privacy in customer reviews, and the results vary. For instance, in studies on reviews of smart home assistants, found that a significant percentage of reviews, to 2%, refer to privacy concerns. Another study on human and pet wearables found that there were a few privacy concerns expressed in these reviews. So the first couple of studies used unsupervised machine learning algorithms for the analysis, and the privacy concerns on human and pet wearables paper used a thematic analysis. In our study, we combined both of these techniques, and we go beyond merely reporting on the concerns exhibited by users. We also identify the themes where these reviews are, where these concerns or references are made. We had two research questions. The first was quantitative: what fraction of customer reviews of IoT devices mention security or privacy? And the second was more qualitative: when security or privacy is mentioned, what are the corresponding themes that are being articulated, or what is the context in which such references are made? So in our study, for scoping of the research, we identified 4 device types of IoT, which were found in previous research to be commonly infected with Mirai-like malware. This includes surveillance systems, set-top boxes, smart home hubs, and routers. Additionally, we also took the exact manufacturer and the model number that was identified to be infected with Mirai, and we also looked for those on 6 Amazon websites: Australia, Canada, India, Singapore, UK, and the US. And this is because only these 6 websites of Amazon are natively available in English. So for each of these device types, we had a few search terms. For instance, for surveillance systems, this included IP cameras, NVRs, DVRs, and the like. And in total, we collected around 1,415 devices across the 6 websites. We see that there is a high number of products in surveillance systems. This is partly because we group DVRs and NVRs along with IP cameras for surveillance systems, but also this indicates the wide range of devices that are available in IP cameras. The device distribution across the Amazon website shows that the highest number of devices were found in the Amazon website of Canada, and the lowest in the website of India and Singapore. So from the product links that we had so far, we collected the reviews. So our review collection strategy was different for the research question. For the first research question, we collected the top 30 reviews from each of the 5-star ratings. So top 30 from 1-star, 2-star, and so on. And we ran an unsupervised topic modeling algorithm on these reviews so that in the next step, when we wanted to do a manual analysis, we took a random sample, we could be confident that this random sample was representative of all the topics that were being discussed in the reviews. And for the second research question, we collected reviews that explicitly refer to security and privacy by searching for security and privacy related keywords on Amazon reviews. These keywords we've collected from earlier user studies to understand how users talk about security or privacy rather than how researchers like us speak about it. And on these reviews, we ran a semi-supervised topic modeling algorithm. So we anchored the algorithm onto the search terms that we used to find these reviews. And we left a couple of topics open for the model to identify additional topics. And then again, on a random we collected a random bunch of reviews from each of the topics for manual analysis. For the first research question, the manual analysis, Veerle and I, my colleague and I, we went through each of the reviews and we manually marked them as containing references to security and privacy or not. For the second research question, we added a code to each of the reviews for each of the reviews that refer to security and privacy based on the content or the context of the references that were being made. So in total, for the first research question, we collected around 68,000 reviews, and this were split into 22 topics across the device types. And we took 50 random reviews from each of these topics, so that gave us 1,100 reviews to manually analyze. For the second research question, we collected 15K reviews, and there were 8 topics that were output by the model, and we took 100 reviews from each of the topics, giving us 800 reviews for the manual analysis. Okay, what did we find? For the first research question, we found that 9.8% of reviews mention security and privacy. Now, on the one hand, this is not a lot, but on the other hand, potential buyers who are looking at these reviews stand a decent chance of encountering references to security and privacy. More importantly, the review writers in reviews, which are approximately the length of the text on the left, feel that security and privacy aspects of a device are important enough to mention them 1 in 10 times. But of course, the references varied across the devices. We found that routers had the highest percentage of reference to security and privacy. Interestingly, the once vulnerable routers that we had in our data set presented a lower percentage of reference to security and privacy compared to the other routers. But the difference was not statistically significant. We found that surveillance systems had the lowest percentage of references, and the difference in percentage of reference across the device types cannot be explained by the thematic differences that the themes that we identified in the next step. The themes that we identified were distributed across all of the device types. And the themes that we identified, we found 7 themes in total. Firmware updates, this was the most common. So this was users wanting an update to fix an issue or complaining that an update broke an issue. Close second was references to security during setup. And these were on the polar ends. Some of the reviews spoke about how easy it was to set up the device, while some of the reviews complained about how frustrating it was to set up the device because they couldn't get the password to work, for instance. We also found some reviews mentioning facts about the security or privacy of a device and providing advice to other users. For instance, they would mention something like it supports WPA or WEP. And there was also a review that said, I advise you to change the default password because that's safer. We also found reviews that expressed a negative opinion on security features. So the users were unhappy with the security of the device. For instance, users were complaining about not being able to change the username on a device. And there were even stories about an IP camera being hacked. And we also found references to the usability of security features. For instance, difficulty of creating a strong password when you have only a mouse, which is common in a lot of surveillance systems. We also found references to a positive opinion of security features, which was lower than the negative opinion. So the positive opinion, for instance, was about being able to share access to cameras with other people and being able to see how many people had access to the cameras on that app. And the lowest percentage of references that we found was on data capitalism and privacy. So for instance, this was the apps asking for extra permissions to share data, which users said with, oh, they're obviously selling the data. So through the analysis, we also found that there were reviews which expressed contrasting opinions about the same feature. For instance, there was a reviewer who was annoyed by having to enter a two-factor code when wanting to see whether he had a visitor or just a burglar. While there was another reviewer, and she was happy with the app having two-factor authentication because she felt that it was safer. So, to conclude, there are definitely signals for security and privacy in consumer reviews, and we have a few recommendations to amplify these signals. First, for e-commerce websites like Amazon, to highlight the security and privacy-related reviews and also provide a specific security and privacy-related score for these devices to help parse the content, especially when it's technical, for the more non-technically for the more non-technical users. Next, similar to the Q&A that is currently available on Amazon, we can use the review system to provide advice for concerns that are expressed in the reviews. Such situated advice that is tailored to the experience of the users is more likely to be followed. And finally, IoT designers and manufacturers can design for shortcuts and security features for non-technical users while balancing that with the needs of technical users who might appreciate better customizability or flexibility. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.